everyone, this is the Sony a7C II, and in today's video we're going to be doing a portrait photo shoot and a bunch of other tests to review this camera for both photo and video. Welcome back again. Last one for today. The Sony a7C II is a full-frame hybrid mirrorless camera with a 33 megapixel back illuminated sensor. As usual, I have some human and animal autofocus examples for you to take a look at, which we are again going to be a little snappy with since the a7C II features the same AI autofocus tech like the Sony a7R5, a6700, and a7CR. For all these examples, I have the camera set to continuous autofocus with a wide focus area using the GM 35mm f1.4 lens. I feel like Responsive AF has gotten even more responsive. It does such a great job following around a moving subject in the frame. It's really impressive. I was also testing out Locked On autofocus, which also does a good job. Locked On is meant to keep focus on the subject even when something or someone moves in front of the person. As usual, Sony's Human AF is incredible. The a7C II has 759 phase detection AF points, which is the same as the Sony a7 IV. Evie and Olive have been very generous with their time modeling for us lately. I took all of these on the GM 135mm f1.8. It makes the shots of them look so dreamy. Just like the a7CR, which I also have a complete review about, Animal AF is amazing in video mode and makes it super easy to track a moving subject, even with a shallow depth of field like I'm using here. In the a7C II, you have human, animal, bird, insect, car, train, and airplane AF modes with the ability to select what parts of the animal, bird, or vehicle you want in focus. In stills mode, I am mostly able to get photos of them with tack-sharp focus on their iris, especially when they're directly facing the camera. When their eye is at a bit more of an angle in the frame, I find that I get a mixture of shots with focus on their iris or fur. If you want to see more examples of this AI AF tech on birds, you can also check out my reviews of the a6700 and the a7R5. Let's head to our photo shoot where Jasmine is modeling, Lydia is on hair and makeup, and Dan is filming. As always, let's get the formalities out of the way. This video is not sponsored by Sony. I do want to say thank you to Sony Australia for getting this camera in my hands early so I can make this review, but this is not paid. They don't ask me to say anything and they don't review my video before it goes live. All thoughts and opinions are completely my own. I have two lenses to test out with this camera body today, starting off with the GM 35mm f1.4. Please keep in mind while you're watching this video that this is a pre-production camera. I also don't have access to the RAWs just yet, so I'm currently showing you and editing the JPEG straight out of camera. I'm using my Mountains Lightroom preset pack, which I really love using for street photo shoots like this. I'm gonna just hold this and then I'll put it back. We have some different file type options in the a7C II, including RAW, uncompressed, compressed, and lossless compression options, as well as the standard Sony JPEG quality options and HEIF 420 and HEIF 422. During this photo shoot, I'm using RAW uncompressed, which I'll open later when I have access to the files, and also JPEG extra fine, which are the photos you're looking at today. Yes, this is so nice. Next time we have to count how long it takes until I shoot next to a bin. It's gonna be our new game. The photos straight out of camera are beautiful. The images coming out of the a7C II are at the same quality as Sony's Pro cameras like the a7R5 and a7 IV. It produces incredibly sharp and clear images. There is also a good range of colors and dynamic range. Maybe we'll just get sun on your face. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That looks really nice. Okay. Ooh, yes. No, this is good. Yeah, if it gets too bright, you can close your eyes. Yeah. I found white balance on this camera tends to lean towards the cooler side of things, while I personally prefer warmer tones as it's more flattering for skin tones. This is something you can adjust the parameters of to suit your taste, but for camera reviews recently, I've been using the out-of-the-box auto white balance setting to see how it behaves. And then if you could take like a step back that way too. Beautiful. Just like our autofocus tests earlier, this mimics what it's like doing a real-world portrait photo shoot as well. Relying completely on Human AF made the photo shoot so quick and easy. I also had an extremely high ratio of in-focus images with critical focus. This camera is very fun and easy to use out on location to take photos with. Now with the 33 megapixel sensor upgrade, it really feels like a baby a7 IV, which is my main camera body I use for photography. But the a7C II is obviously lighter and more convenient to take around with you as an everyday carry camera. It's so high.
I was like, you'd have to be down.
I know.
I was like, she's gonna be lying down.
Look at those vines on that tree. Oh, this is so cool. It's like a jungle. While this camera is producing high quality images, it does have some limitations, including only being able to achieve a fastest mechanical shutter speed of up to 1/4000. This can become an issue if you are a wide open prime lens photographer like me. I did actually run into this issue while we were taking the harsh lit photos against the pink wall, where I reached a shutter of 1/4000 and had to bump up my aperture to f2.2 to correctly expose the images. If you don't want to be bumping up your aperture like that, you would need to add ND filters to your kit to be able to shoot with a shallow depth of field on bright days. The a7C II is capable of reaching a shutter of 1/8000, but this is with the electronic shutter only, so you may start to run into issues of rolling shutter or warping if you shoot fast moving subjects with this setting. I'm getting a full body shot here. I switched over to the GM 135 f1.8 now. All right, so this is gonna be like a headshot. I personally didn't run into any issues with the buffer utilizing V90 SDXC cards. I had the camera on RAW uncompressed plus JPEG the entire time I had it and made sure to burst shoot whenever I could to see how it would perform. The buffer never got in my way of getting the shot I needed, whether it was a walking scene with a person or when I was capturing burst photos of Evie and Olive to test Animal AF. If you watched my A7C-R review, I did experience the buffer slowing me down during my photo shoots here and there. Since the A7C II has smaller resolution images, it doesn't hinder the buffer in the same way. It's kind of studio-ish, you know, like... I have to go so far back. Oh, I'm gonna get a full body shot. This camera weighs 514 grams and is in the same size body as the A7C-R. One of the best physical upgrades since the A7C has to be the slightly larger grip, which makes it more comfortable to hold. Just like I said in my A7C-R review, I think it's as comfortable as it can get for a super compact full frame camera body. While it can get a little tiring to use for hours on end, for shorter photo shoots and as an everyday camera, it's much more comfortable to hold now compared to the A7C. This camera body features a flippy screen and still has the viewfinder all the way off to the side like its predecessor. The viewfinder does have a better magnification ratio though, so it is easier on the eyes to use. I personally really love the inclusion of the dual layered mode dial and most importantly, the front dial, yay! That means that even if you're using a lens that doesn't have an aperture ring, you have enough buttons and dials to be able to control all your main settings for using the camera in manual mode, so shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. This camera has the new on and off switch, which we first saw in the A6700, which is a little harder to switch. It has a customizable dial in place of the old exposure compensation dial, 2 customizable buttons, a USB-C port, mic jack, headphone jack, micro HDMI, uses the same FZ100 battery as most Sony cameras nowadays, and it has a single UHS-2 card slot. For me personally, the single card slot would stop me from using this camera in professional settings, like during a wedding, for example, for either photo or video. It is said by Sony to be dust and moisture resistant as well. All right, I love it. Yay. Next, let's take a look at video. Dan is filming this on the GM 24mm f1.4 using the camera handheld so we can see the movement and IBIS performance. This camera features 7 steps of IBIS with 5 axes in body. Just like photo, we also have the camera set to human AF and a wide focus area to let the camera do all the work with focusing. In case you skipped past it, my examples of animal AF in video mode are back towards the beginning of this review. These shots of Jasmine are all filmed in S-Log 3 and I am using my own Rec 709 conversion LUT. The A7C II is capable of up to 4K 60p with an S35 crop or 4K 30p full frame. Here are some examples of the cropping induced by 60p as well as active image stabilization. We now have 422 10-bit, which is very welcome. Previously, the A7C, while capable of using S-Log 3, in 4208-bit there was just not enough color information to adequately color grade the footage, and I am working on an A7C versus A7C2 comparison video where we take a look at both photo and video, so let me know if you have any questions about either of these cameras you want answered in that video. Something interesting I noticed, which could be due to this being a pre-production camera, is that the S-Log LUT installed in the camera is quite dull, which makes it hard to see exposure and focus out on location while shooting an S-Log 3. You can, however, load your own LUTs into the camera now, so at least this is quite an easy fix. Just like the A6700, S-Log 3 is no longer in the picture profile menu, making it slower to get to as you have to scroll through the menu to turn it on, and I can't find a way to add a shortcut to it either. They also have added S-Cinetone as a picture profile. Anyway, with the beautiful quality of video produced by this camera, I can see the A7C II having quite an even use case scenario between both photo and video. I've noticed S-Log 3 says it's using an ISO of 100, but it's really using a base ISO of S-Log 3, which is around 800. It just says 100 now on the screen. You can really see it when switching with the same settings between photo and video. So you have reached the vlogging portion of this video where we test out the A7C II for vlogging. I'm currently using the 16-35 f2.8 GM2 lens. I may as well use it while I have it because this is a pretty cool lens for vlogging. And I have the camera body on a Joby and I'm just walking around so we can see the movement and if there's any jellos or shakes. I have stabilization just set to standard. Okay, and then move the camera close to me and far away and close and far. And now I'll zoom into 35 millimeters and I'll zoom out back to 16, back to 35, 16, 35. Last but not least, let's do a microphone test. Lav mic, you've been listening to that already. So now let's switch over to the external microphone I have attached to the camera and I'll talk a little bit so you can hear it. And finally, we have the internal microphone of the A7C II. As always, there's traffic noise, so we'll see how much my voice cuts through. By the way, I am working on an entirely separate vlog using the A7C II and the 16-35, so keep an eye out for that. It's gonna be coming out soon. Finally, we have a low light test. I took photos at every single ISO available in the C2 with noise reduction off and noise reduction set to normal. I have the exact same ISO test for the A7CR, A7 IV, and A7C to compare to, which you will be able to see soon when I upload my comparison videos between those cameras. That is all I have for today's review on the A7C II. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Which ones were your favorite photos? What do you think of the camera? But as always, thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I will see you all next time. Bye.